Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Skatepark Podcast. My name is Alec Beck. I'm here with my trusty co-host, Trevor Staples, and we are joined with a special guest today, Ms. Stephanie Murdoch. So today we are jumping in, and I'll introduce Stephanie in full in a moment, but I want to start by saying we'll be jumping into a full season 3 of the Skatepark Podcast in 2021. We hope you're all out there getting a little skating in, but being safe and doing what you can to stay sane in this wacky 2020 year. Today, we're going to talk about the Skatepark project grant application, which is to some a very fascinating subject. To others, it's probably pretty boring, but that's okay. We're going to go over nearly every question, skipping some of the less interesting parts and going into some of the new aspects of the grant application. We're going to be talking to Stephanie about her involvement with the grants committee and what that means for her and for the organization at large. And we're also going to go into the Built to Play program as well. So if you're not familiar with the Skatepark project grant application or the Built to Play grant application, essentially it's an opportunity for local skatepark projects around the country to apply for funding for a skatepark project. The range can go from $5,000 to $10,000 for the national program, and that's available to anybody working on a public skatepark project across the US, or they can go a little bit higher. Trevor, do you want to hop in and tell us a little bit more about the Built to Play program?
So the Built to Play program is a regional grant initiative for Southeast Michigan and Western New York. So if you're out here where I live in Ann Arbor or Buffalo, Rochester, Detroit, Port Huron sort of area, the Built to Play grant initiative might be for you. We offer up to $250,000 in matching funds for skate parks. If you're thinking about a 10,000-ish square foot skate park, then this is a good way to get half of your skate park paid for, if you meet all the criteria, which we'll be talking about later.
That's a massive, great explanation. Thanks, Trevor, and a massive, huge boost to a skate park project. If you can get a half your skate park built like that or paid for like that, it's a really good way to do it. Good way to jumpstart a project out there. For all the other projects across the country, you may have the ability to apply for a grant from us. We'll talk about some of the restrictions and when you should and when you shouldn't apply, how you should apply. And those grants are $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, $25,000, which may not be a lot in terms of grant funding, but the ability to turn around to your community and say, hey, Tony Hawk's charity, the Skatepark Project, believes in our project. So should you. Here's where you can donate. It's a really good opportunity to leverage the news and use that funding item as a great springboard for more funding for your community. All right, so now that we've gone over just a few of the basics of the grant application, we are going to bring in Miss Stephanie Murdoch from Baltimore, Maryland. How are you doing today, Stephanie?
Hey, I'm doing well. We are having a little bit of snow out here, believe it or not.
You guys are getting dumped on, huh?
Yeah.
It's delightful. Gonna have a snowy Christmas and a snowy holiday. So,
or we're just gonna have to dig out the skate park, I guess.
Yeah, I love that. That's
Right.
the first thing you think about. It's like, skate park's got to get dug out. And shout out to everybody out there who's digging out their skate park in the middle of the winter. That is such a hardcore and rad move, and it makes a huge difference to everybody in the neighborhood. That's for sure. So, Stephanie, you have you're a Tony Hawk Foundation or a Skatepark Project grant application winner. You are currently the president of the Skate Park of Baltimore. You are on the board of USA Skateboarding, and now you're chairing the grants committee along with your day job. I don't know how you do all of this, but we're certainly lucky to have you on board. What does it feel like to be? Well, let's start with this. What are your recent thoughts or your thoughts on the recent adjustments on the grant application, and why are these adjustments critical to getting a more complete picture of a community's needs?
Sure. Well, like you mentioned, I'm a recent addition to the not only the board itself, but now chair of the grants committee. So it's a really exciting opportunity. And, I've always felt like when duty calls, you have to answer. And when Tony Hawk reached out to me and said, we're looking to expand our board and bring new members in, I felt like I was called to serve and really called to give back to an organization that's given so much to so many skate park advocates, over 500 skate parks, and all around the United States, and also has given back a lot to me personally. So I really felt indebted to to get involved. And as a, applicant myself, a former applicant and grant recipient, I realized that a lot of the folks that are applying for these grants, they're folks that are working multiple jobs and have families and other responsibilities. And they're folks that might be finishing their application at 2 a.m. the day before it's due. So, being on both sides of that coin, I think helped bring some new understanding to the process. But one thing I do know is that the Tony Hawk Foundation, now the Skatepark project, has always been dedicated to serving underserved communities. And that's never changed. But I think with recent changes, just, in the United States and around the world, and the focus on equity, the Skatepark project has come up with this Skatepark theory of change. And I felt that it was our duty as a grants committee to really implement that theory of change by creating equitable access to skate parks for underserved communities, communities that are marginalized by things such as poverty, geography, racial or gender, or other forms of social inequality and discrimination. And I think, much like many other organizations and businesses and all of us, really struggling to understand what equity is, what applying an equity lens to your actions actually entails. So the expression that I kind of thought of was one of the best known phrases from the Supreme Court history is, "I know it when I see it," And
Yeah.
and for us, of course, that was referring to something else. But for us, being on a grants review committee where we're spread out all over the United States, we don't get to necessarily have visited these communities that are applying, and we don't know what the picture's actually like on the ground. So I'm really excited about these new community indicators, and I think they should help the committee get a better idea of the community's need. I think it's a but-for situation. Would this park be built but for additional support from the skate park project? And that's something that we really have to consider. And then also kind of balancing, the application and making sure it's something that, a professional, you don't need a professional grant writer to fill out. The information to the questions should be readily available to you, and to encourage as many applicants as possible.
That's really well said, Stephanie. Thank you. It's been wonderful to watch the grants committee come together and really dive into this process. The grants committee is a newly created mechanism that has brought together a diverse cross-section of people in the industry and the culture in skateboarding and outside of skateboarding, and in the world of creating more equitable spaces. So thank you for sharing that, committee. I just realized in the middle of this that I'm the only one on this webinar that hasn't been the recipient of a skate park project or Tony Hawk Foundation grant. Trevor, I guess you better
work on a project. You better start something.
No kidding. It's time to get back in the streets. That's for sure. What was it like for you, Trevor, or what is it like for you to be on this side of the grant application process?
Well, one thing that Stephanie brought up and that you brought up about what Stephanie's going on with Stephanie right now is that idea of she's working, she's got the grants committee, she's on the board, she's got her skate park projects. It takes me back to when I was doing our project here. And I remember when we finally built the skate park, I made a commitment to never have anything to do with skate park development again ever in my life.
Nice work on following through with that one.
Good luck with that.
Right. Yet here you are.
But yeah, that's a good question, because every project is a little bit different. Every project has different needs. These changes to the grants committee or the grants application, in the past, what we did at the Tony Hawk Foundation was almost, to make the cut, you had to be under median household income for the state. And so that cut out a lot of communities that may have been just over or significantly over, but still had underserved communities within their municipality or their service area for the skate park. Working on the skate park here, one thing that was most valuable, we got a $5,000 grant here in Ann Arbor, and it's a $1 million skate park basically. But what was more important for us was being able to get the technical assistance and the help along the way from people who had done it before. And so that's where it's nice to have people like Stephanie and Alec and most people at the skate park project who have gone through this process before, been involved with one of these projects, and we can hopefully help make it easier and quicker to go along, and also hopefully help out with some funding.
Well said. Well, thanks, Trevor, for that reminiscing. I'm happy to hear that you did vow to no longer do anything relative to skate park advocacy, and seeing how that's going.
I take it back.
Good, you took it back. Great. So you were in Ann Arbor, did that project. Stephanie, you're in Baltimore, Maryland, did the skate park of Baltimore. Stephanie, I know you're short on time. Trevor and I are going to jump into the actual application. We're going to go through the worksheet and go through almost every single question. We're going to skip a couple things that are, what's your phone number and address. But is there anything, any parting words of wisdom or anything you'd like to leave with anybody who's applying for this grant?
Yeah, I'd really like to encourage the applicants, don't give up. I don't think we got the grant the very first time we applied. And there's so much legwork that has to be done, before you can even get to, doing the fundraising, identifying your site, getting the community support, getting the buy-in from your local municipality. So just because you don't get the grant the first time you apply, please consider applying again. And we want to help you get to the best place that you can possibly be when you receive this grant. So whether you receive the grant or not, please feel free to call on the Skate Park Project as a resource to help you kind of build your capacity, to get to the finish line, the concrete finish line.
Perfect. I love it. Absolutely. And even if you're not ready to apply, call on us, because that's what we're here for. Well, Stephanie, thank you for taking the time to hop in with us. We're going to let you go, and Trevor and I are going to jump right into the application process. And we'll probably describe a little bit, a few things about if you're just starting out, right? If you're listening to this podcast and wondering, okay, I need to apply for a grant, but we're just starting out, we'll jump into that. Stephanie, thank you very much, and we will see you soon.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Stay warm.
So like we were saying, if you have an idea for a skate park project, or you're the only one in town who thinks it's a good idea, it may be time for you to start a skate park project. But if you're just starting, it's probably not the best time to apply for a grant. If you're just starting out and you're thinking, oh man, we really do need some skate space. We need our community to step up and give the community a place to ride, to roll, to recreate as a group, then go to publicskateparkguide.org and start from the beginning, and email us contact@skatepark.org, and we can give you some other resources to work through this process. If you have,
that's a really good point. And what Stephanie brought up too is, we're here to help, and what we want to happen is to get more skate parks built.
Right.
Like that's the goal, is to get quality skate parks, successful skate parks built across the country. And so we're here to help. And a $10,000 grant might not make your skate park happen, but if you have help from people who have done it before, then that's going to really grease the skids and help things happen.
Right.
So definitely reach out to us. We're here. I'll give you Alec's cell phone number later. You can just call him directly.
Sounds perfect. Thank you. I like the term grease the skids too. That's definitely an East Coast sledding terminology. Grease the skids. So yeah, absolutely though. I mean, that's going to go a long way. And if you do apply, and as Trevor was saying, if you do apply and you don't get an award, apply again. We can work on it together and figure out, what's going to make you more competitive. Because ultimately, there's two ways to think about this. Is your project viable? Is it public, outdoor, free, designed and built by professionals? Does it check all those boxes? And you can go to skatepark.org to see what the 10 critical factors of skate park success are. But for us, it narrows down to some of those: public, free, outdoor, unsupervised, designed and built by professionals with community input in mind. That's one part of it. Is it a viable project? The second part is, how competitive is it compared to the rest of these groups that apply? So you may have a good application this year, but the competition is so good. The other 20 applicants happen to be more, they just are more competitive in the eyes of the grants committee and the staff. That's okay. It doesn't mean your project's wrong or anything like that. We would recommend reapplying. And in most cases, when communities reapply and they are a viable project, they end up doing very well and they end up being awarded a grant, or at least we want to see that type of commitment. We want to see a community come back and say, hey, look, we thought about what you said. We made these changes. Here's where we are now. And that goes a long way. So what I'm going to do is bring up the grant application worksheet. This is our website. You go to skate parks, you click skate park project grants. This page comes up. This will give you a brief overview of what, who's eligible and who's not, essentially. So if you've already received a grant larger than $1,000, you're not eligible to apply again. If you're putting the money to anything other than construction, you're not eligible to apply, etc. But you go down here and you could go all the way down to the bottom and click here and start your application. But what we recommend is going right here to the Skate Park Project Grant Worksheet and opening this thing up. Now, if you're doing a Build to Play application, you go to Build to Play Grants. That pops open this page and you scroll down, get all the information you need, and then download the worksheet. And what you do is you fill out the worksheet and you save your answers, essentially. So when you are ready to apply, you can copy and paste those answers over. It really minimizes the risk of technical difficulties. So let's dive right in.
One thing I think a good thing to do for anyone who, especially if you're just starting out, is read the webpage for whichever Build to Play or the national grants. Right. That'll give you an idea if you qualify yet and some of the things that you have to have in order. And then download that app worksheet and just look through it quickly, because you'll get a good sort of overview of what you're going to have to do in the coming months and years, hopefully not too many years, and what kind of information you're going to need and the partnerships you're going to need with the municipality and things like that.
All right, so for the sake of time, most people know how to fill out a basic form, where you're from, who's submitting this, all that information. We're going to jump into some of the new questions and get you right down to business. So as we get to question 36, we're starting to dive into new territory. If you've applied for a grant from us before, or you have looked through this process in the past, some of these are new questions. We've highlighted them in yellow. That doesn't mean the ones that aren't highlighted aren't critically important, but we're going to go over everything. All right, community details, population, pretty straightforward. Median household income. This is something that we used to use as our primary consideration for determining need in a community. It's still fairly useful as an economic indicator, but it's just one of a set at this point. You can find those at the listed, on those websites that are listed there. Trevor, you want to take us through a couple?
Sure. So the number 38, the free and reduced lunch rate, this is a new item on our application. This information can be found, sometimes it's just for the city, but there are lots of school districts that are spread out across many communities in an area, especially rural areas. So the school district would probably have this information. If you're having a hard time finding that information, then reach out to us and we can try to help you find that information on free and reduced lunch.
Again, the city should be able to help you with this stuff. Hopefully they know this. And part of this journey for you as a grant applicant, as a community member, is learning more about your community. So some of these questions really are going to kind of challenge you to make a few phone calls and figure out where things are, or do a little bit of research online and get to know your community a little better. We want you to, the internet can tell us so much. You live here, you live in these spaces. So there will be spaces for, qualitative approach and tell us about your community. But right now, some of these are just straight up numbers to help us understand some of the community indicators. Moving on, poverty rate. This can be found on census.gov. You can also call the city and talk to them, or go to citydata.com, something like that. Should tell you pretty straightforward. If you can't find it for the city, use what you can. Just make sure you let us know if it's county data. Moving on, what is the racial and ethnic composition of the community within the service area of the skate park? So the grants committee will be using census data to understand the makeup of your community. This is an important factor. Obviously, we want to know what your community is like, what groups, what is the makeup and the ethnic composition of the different parts of your community and the community itself. Trevor, do you have anything you want to say about this particular question?
And I think that phrase service area is important too. The service area is going to be the area where young people can get to the skate park. So sometimes that if there's not public transportation, then that's a smaller geographic area. If it's in a more urban place where there's lots of public transportation, then that might be a larger area where young people and people without personal transportation,
right,
at least motorized transportation, can get to the skate park. So when we say service area, we mean, you know, if there's somebody that lives 10 miles out in the middle of farm country, that's probably not part of the service area,
right.
unless there's some kind of community transportation that can get them there.
Well said. So for number 40, you're essentially going to be using your census data to describe the makeup of your community. 41, annual municipal budget, pretty simple. The annual Parks Department budget, you're seeing now where you're going to need to get some of this information from. Moving on to some county data. Now, if you're not familiar with how cities and counties work, usually cities are within counties unless it's an unincorporated territory, but the county is a larger area in which this data is being compiled. So there's some specific instructions here. You can go to countyhealthrankings.org, and you know what? I think we should just go ahead and do an example with that, if you don't mind, and demonstrate how this works. I'll pull that up. Do you want to describe number 43 for us?
Sure. So one of the things that we're doing with these new items on the application is as we move away from using median household income as the sole determiner of qualifications for the grant, we want to know if there are other things in the community that are impacting the young people or just everybody in the community. And so suicide rate is going to be one of those, because what we've seen is a lot of times suicide rate can be affected by just not having stuff to do, not having quality, positive activity to do in your community. And so that's why we have that in there. Sometimes it's hard to find, but if you have a hard time finding that, I would say work with the municipality, see if they have any of that data, either the city or the county. And if you're still having a hard time finding that information, then reach out to us and we can try to help you with that.
And we can do an example right now to demonstrate. If you go to countyhealthrankings.org, and let's go to, do you mind if we do an Arbor, Trevor?
Nope.
Let's see what comes up here.
Yeah, it might end up being for the county. But...
Right, okay. Well, here you go. So this would be your first, you're gonna think, well, why didn't that come up?
I think it would be Washtenaw County.
Washtenaw County, that makes a lot of sense. So find out what the name of your county is.
Hey, you know how to spell Washtenaw. Awesome.
Yeah, another guy out there. So here we go. You're taking a look. This pops up, Michigan, Washtenaw County. The instructions for the suicide rate were to click the plus next to the additional social and economic factors. So we're going down here. You see additional health outcomes, additional health behaviors, additional clinical care, additional social and economic factors. Here we go. You hit that plus, drop it open. We have suicides right here. Washtenaw County has 10 compared to 14 for the state. Right? 10 is it's the number, it'll say right here, it's the, well, we have some demographics here as well. But I believe that that's the number of deaths due to suicide per 100,000 in the population.
Okay.
So this number right here in this column will be what you're looking for. If you don't have this, include the one over here for your state. And can you see my mouse, Trevor?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and if you do include the state number, just write the word state behind it. But that's a pretty quick primer onto how to find some of this information. Moving on. Overdose deaths in the county. This is equally tragic. Yeah, please.
If I could, going back to number 43, suicide rate, that number for the county or for the state might not reflect what's going on in your smaller community.
Yeah.
So there may be a community where for some reason there's been a handful of teen suicides over the last couple of years. And when you look at the whole county, it might not seem very much, but when it's within a school district or within a smaller community, then it would. And so that's where you can sort of add a little bit of a narrative descriptor there too.
Well said.
If it's not reflecting what's actually going on in your municipality.
Right. And we do get a heartbreakingly large amount of people who reach out about that. So be sure to include that. If you can't fit it in that space for the overdose or suicide rate, you can insert it later in some of the qualitative factor questions. So same thing with overdose deaths. The rate of deaths within 100,000 people, you'll go to countyhealthrankings.org, click the plus, go to additional health behaviors, and right next to drug overdose deaths. This is a factor. When you don't have a lot of things to do, people turn to drugs, and it's it's a tragedy, and we need not say more than that, but this is something that we'd like to know about your community. Moving on to opportunity youth. This is actually more commonly called disconnected youth. This is the rate of people who are 16 to 19, in some circles 16 to 24, but 16 to 19 for this particular demographic, who aren't working and aren't in school. It's slowly being changed to opportunity youth because that sounds a lot better than disconnected youth, and it's affirmatively positioned linguistically. So we want to know. Same thing, go to countyhealthrankings.org, search for your county, click the plus, and then additional social and economic factors. Now keep in mind the overdose deaths up here is additional health behaviors, not additional social economic factors. All right, let's move on. Briefly describe other skate-based programs or activities administered by the applicant, agency, organization. Pretty obvious, you do clinics, lessons, things like that, pop-up parks, whatever. That's helpful. Are there any local laws or ordinances keeping skateboarding from happening? Put that in. What's the average fine? Now here, 49, this is not a new question, but we've changed the way in which this is framed. We want to see your answer in a specific framework. So where's the nearest skate park? State, city, name, travel distance in miles, material, skate park, and age of skate park. So in this case, let's see, California, Vista, that's where we're located. And it's travel distance in miles one way, 3 miles away, concrete, excuse me, type of the moment, concrete, 4 years old. So something like that is what we want to see. Real simple. California Vista, 3 miles, concrete, 4 years old. Oh, excuse me, I forgot the name. California Vista. This is called Vista Street. Normally it has a more creative name, but that's kind of the framework that we want to see. State,
and if
city,
you're having,
name. Go ahead.
If you're having a hard time finding out when the skate park was built, because I know especially some of these prefabricated ones have been there for close to 20 years.
Right.
The city or the municipality would have that information.
Right. Absolutely. Same thing with the second nearest skate park, one-way distance in miles. That's how you figure out which one's the next closest. Same thing with the third nearest skate park. And the reason we're asking for the material and the age is because that's new for us. And it's kind of a pretty obvious one, which is if you have two skate parks that are near, if two communities that are competitive in this grant process, one of them has a 3-year-old prefabricated skate park and the other one has a 6-year-old concrete skate park, one of those communities is likely to be served longer than the other based on the quality and the age of their skate park. So those are the first, second, and third nearest skate parks. Pretty obvious, pretty simple. Okay, 52 is huge. In what ways have local skateboarders been involved in the skate park project? This is absolutely critical, and it doesn't have to be local skateboarders, local action sports enthusiasts, if you will. Anybody who's involved, who is supporting this project from a cultural standpoint is very big, whether it's a skate shop, the skate family, that skate family, these scooter kids, these BMX old ladies, whatever it is, it's really helpful for us to understand.
Did you say BMX old ladies?
I did, which I'm sincerely hoping is a group. I'm sure there is. So, anything
Nice.
that is relative to your culture, to the culture of action sports, is going to be crucial if they're helping out with the skate park.
If you have a BMX old ladies club or group, please reach out to me. I'd love to interview you.
Right, it would be awesome. I'm sure it's out there. All right, so 53 service factors groups. So you want to describe the community. This is an not anecdotal, but a qualitative approach.
Narrative.
Yeah. Narrative, thank you. Yeah, it's a narrative approach to describing your community. And what we want to know is what are the underserved groups in your community that are marginalized by poverty, geography, or racial, gender, or LGBTQI plus and other forms of social inequality or discrimination? And please include any sources for data. So
this is a good, sorry, Alec, this is a good, so above in the earlier questions, there were sort of numbers that you could find, percentages, and this is where you can, if those percentages or those numbers don't really describe all of your community or what's really going on in your community, this is where you can add some information that we can use to, and you can show how you know your community and that this is going on. What we do ask is that you include any sources of information where we can sort of verify what's going on. In some cases, it might not be, specific numbers, but it might be newspaper articles,
right.
Or blogs or whatever. So this is a place where the underserved aspects of your community could come in that don't show in just the hard numbers.
Right. Well said. And if you don't have this information, do some research, talk to some people, talk to local community organizations, get some information. Asking questions is the first step towards getting a better understanding of your community and what makes up your culture there. So the second part of that, what's that, Trevor?
Sorry, I was just going to say another thing you could do for number 53 is reach out to some community groups.
Yeah.
To find out what's going on in the community. And this is, like Alex said before, this is a great way to learn about the people in your community and what's going on. And so if there are, clubs or groups or people who put on activities or events that you've seen but you haven't really been involved with, this might be a good time to do that, to say, hey, what are those people doing and how are they a part of our community? And then this could be a way to use that information not only for personally, so know your community better and meet different people, but also to help show us the need for the skate park.
Well said. And I think that some people might be a little nervous about doing this because you're knocking on doors of people who are working hard in their community to create greater access and inclusion for members of their sub-community, if you will, which is not a sub-community, it's just another part of the community. But it all starts with those questions, and you can go from being relatively clueless to being an ally in a matter of a conversation or two. So it may be a little new and different, but this is a part of the game and something that's critical to our evolution as a species, to be perfectly honest.
The way that I would think about it is going to people that you don't usually hang out with,
right,
and saying, don't you think a skate park is a great idea? We want you to be involved in this process of getting the skate park built.
Right. Well said. Now, the second part of that question is actually the next question. 54 is service factors. So 53 is service factors groups, 54 is service factors impact. So now you want to describe how is this physical space, this built environment, how is the skate park going to positively impact or provide equitable access to the groups you listed above? Now, it's very easy for somebody to say, for question 53, yeah, we have groups that are marginalized. Done. 54, the skate park is going to provide a place for the members of those marginalized groups to feel more included. Done. Yeah, sure, but that's not going to be a very good answer. You know what I mean? We want to know a little bit more specifically about how is this skate park going to bring people together. So take a look at that and figure out what is a reasonable response. Use your response from question 53 to inform your responses for question 54.
Yeah, and that's going to be a challenging one, number 54. Yeah. But again, it's going to be a way to make the skate park more successful, because the more people who have access and are able to use the skate park, the better.
Right.
It just all around, the city loves it when the skate park's busy all the time. Everyone in the community likes it when they feel welcomed at the skate park. And so this is a way to show, like, here are the ways we're going to make this welcoming for everyone in the community, skaters and not skaters.
Right. And it could just be as simple as we called these are the groups in our community that we've spoken with. They have these experiences and feelings, and this particular group in our community said they're very interested in frequenting the skate park and doing clinics or whatever, providing a inclusive space. And this goes I've had a couple people recently, I'm kind of going off topic here, but saying that skateboarding isn't racist or this and that. And sure, the activity itself is relatively equitable. You just show up and you try, and as long as you're there with a good attitude and you're willing to ride your board, you're likely not going to experience that. But most of the people who said that to me are coming from a position of privilege that were never in a position to receive any sort of racism in the first place. So just because they think just because it didn't happen to them doesn't mean it doesn't happen. And not to go down the rabbit hole in this, but this is a critically important part of our growth as a global community, as our local community, as our organization. These are questions that we need to ask and want to ask, and we want to know more about these communities. So keep that in mind when you're taking a look at these questions and understanding how the skate park works and what its intention is to provide inclusive space for the community. So moving on to the next question, which is right on point. 55, what are some of the important economic or social issues that your community is working to address? You may find some of these responses in your conversations with community groups. You may already know about it from newspaper articles or from things on the news or whatever. You likely know about these already, where your community is either falling short or doing their best to not fall short. So throw those in there. 56, describe any geographical barriers preventing access to recreational opportunities in the area. So essentially, this one is if most of the town lives on this side of the river and there's only 2 bridges and the skate park's on the other side of the river. That's one example, very specific example. But there are many instances in which a geographical barrier, whether it's a body of water or a freeway, which is very common, or a railroad or something like that, is splitting the city, and it's hard for kids and adults from one side of the community to get to the other side of the community. So things like that will be helpful. It's not necessarily going to knock you down or up. It's just going to help us get a better idea of where you are.
And I think number 56 can also help in deciding if the location is actually the best location for the skate park. Because answering this question, you might find out like, oh, well, the neighborhoods on this side of the highway, can get to the skate park, but all those other neighborhoods on the other side, just 100 yards away, don't have access to the skate park. And that might be something where you can say, is this the best place for the skate park? It may still be, but this is a good way to get thinking about how young people and people without motorized transportation can get to the skate park.
Right. Absolutely. And if you decide in the middle of your application that, hold on, let's pump the brakes, let's reconsider this site, and let us know in the middle of this application, we're actually taking another look at this site to see whether or not we should split this 20,000 square foot skate park into 2 10,000 square foot skate parks. That's music to our ears. We're not going to knock you down. So we want to know that you're aware of this type of information and doing your best to take action when necessary. Going on to 57, what other recreational amenities are in the same location as the skate park? If your skate park is going in a larger municipal park, what else is at the park? 5 basketball fields. 5. That was normally I do that as a joke.
Spoken like a true skater.
Genuine slip. A couple baseball rinks, you'll be good to go. Make sure you list these things in a way that we understand. We have 3 basketball courts, 4 baseball fields, lacrosse. A lacrosse field?
Yeah, lacrosse. So, Chandler Park has a lacrosse field.
There you go. So
they're doing a skate park and they have lacrosse fields. Yeah.
Let us know, because we want to know what other amenities are available to the people in your town. So
and part of the reason for that is that, sorry to interrupt, but part of the reason for that is that the more amenities that are available, the more activities at the park that the skate park is in, the more successful the skate park's going to be.
Right.
I mean, families can go to the skate park and one kid can be shooting hoops and one kid can be swimming at the pool and then one kid can be skating in the skate park.
Right.
It can make a day of it. So plus that brings more eyes on the skate park. And that's good for 2 reasons, security, which is not that big of a deal, but what it really does is it brings people, like if you're bringing the kids to play travel soccer and you notice that there's a skate park there and you see what's actually going on in a skate park, you're going to love the skate park.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas you
absolutely.
might not have visited the skate park.
Right.
So
Well said. And to balance that, because I think people might want to fluff that up to make it sound better. If the fewer recreational amenities you have, the greater the need is going to appear. So just be honest about it, and be honest about all this stuff. This is what we need. Now, what other recreational amenities are in the same service area as the skate park? This is, okay, we have 5 baseball fields in the same park. We have 10 baseball fields in the service area, in this city, in the community, or this side of the city. Moving on, 59, are there plans to extend the range of service with the skate park or skate park project? This is clinics, lessons, transit lines, bike path connections, regional skate park advisory summits. Anything like that will be helpful for us to understand how your group is going to continue to either support other communities or further support your own community in this process. So, use of funds, how the grant funds can be used. What steps have you taken to lessen the environmental impact of your skate park project? Talk to your designer about that one. We want to know what the estimated cost of the skate park is. These details are in there. You have the cost breakdown.
Can I jump in here?
Please.
Let me just jump in for number 61.
Right.
So this application that we're looking at, this worksheet, is for the national grants.
Correct.
For the built to play skate park grants, if you're in Southeast Michigan or Western New York, the environmental impact of the skate park is going to be more important because we have an additional grant that's added in for 50,000. So there is going to be a question about what things are you going to do to lessen the environmental impact. So that'll be more important to put that in there because it's going to be a requirement of the grant. Now with the national grants, we want you to do that still. We hope that everyone will be considering that when they design their skate park, but it's a little more heavily weighted with the built to play ones because there's $50,000 at stake.
Said. Thank you, Trevor. A cost breakdown, general breakdown of the estimated cost of the skate park. This is a little different than use of funds, but work with your builder and designer to figure out what is the breakdown of the cost. You should have that anyway, so you can understand what kind of in-kind donations can you get. You need 20 grand to fill dirt for no reason, whatever it is. If you have a line item on your cost of the skate park, if you can get that line item sourced as an in-kind donation from somebody else, it's going to save you a lot of money. How much money's been raised?
And again, with the cost breakdown, Alec had mentioned, talk to your designer builder. If you're applying for a build to play grant, you might not have a designer builder yet.
Correct.
And in that case, you'll want to contact us if you need that help. And the Public Skate Park Development Guide has a lot of information on that too.
Right. Very well said. So where have raised funds come from? We want to know where the funds came from. Where will the remaining funds come from? We want to know where you plan to get the rest of the funds. These two are critical. We want to know how much has been raised and then what's your plan. If you say, oh, we've raised, we want to see about at least 30% of your skate park goal raised for the national program. Different for Build to Play. Build to Play is kind of more of a jump start type of grant. It's really going to get you going. But for these national program grants, we want to see that you've done a fair amount of work and that you can fundraise. You've already fundraised and you're likely to fundraise the rest of this, and it's a viable project.
And even for the build to play grants, it does make your application better if you've raised some money, even if it's just a few hundred or a few $1,000s.
Right, because it's a matching grant.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We'll keep going because that's a really good point.
Well, that's just basically it. I mean, the money's getting matched, so the more money, for any project, for any grant you're applying for, if the people who are awarding the grant see that you have done work, whatever kind of work that is, ahead of applying for the grant, that's just going to look better.
Right.
Because when we see that you've already started having car washes or selling T-shirts and making money, and you've already designated some money for the skate park, we like to see that because that shows that you're I was going to say working your ass off, but
no, that's fine.
that you're working hard to make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
We want to see people because basically after we award you the grant, there's still a lot of work you got to do.
Right.
And so that work is going to continue. And I think a lot of people feel like after they get the grant, like, oh, sweet, we got the grant, and they sort of relax. But it's actually things amp up after you get one of these grants.
Yeah, you got to follow through. Well said. Okay. What expert sources have you found helpful in your skate park development work? Just list those. Please explain how local
Alex
businesses.
Beck at the Skatepark Project.
Trevor Staples at the Skatepark Project. Please explain how local businesses, schools. Please don't just put Alec and Trevor on what expert sources you have found in your skatepark. Ideally, publicskateparkguide.org, look other municipalities who have skate parks, the designer, the builder, individuals who've helped you, who've done other skate parks, stuff like that's really good for us to know.
Yeah, a lot of times there's someone that you'll be reaching out to who went through this process before, and they're helping you with some of that in the next town over or whatever. So anything that helped, even people in the municipality, maybe the park staff, things like that.
Right, well said. All right, indoors, outdoors.
And Alec.
And Trevor. Indoors, outdoors, what's the primary construction material, anticipated size? If you're doing a phased build, first of all, if you haven't heard this phrase before, you're hearing it now. Phase one, phase never. Now, that's kind of fun and tongue-in-cheek, but it is harder to raise money for it can be seen as harder to raise money for a second phase of a skate park, because if you're walking down the street and a person without a home says, "Hey buddy, you got any spare change?" and they got a hamburger in their hand, you're like, okay, do you really need that? So if you already have your first phase of your skate park, the city or potential donor can say, well, don't you already have a skate park? Why do we need to give you any money? So there is an argument to be made for not doing a phase build. There are people who do phase builds and are successful with it. If for whatever reason you need to spend the money now because it's a grant on a time limit or something like that, go for it. It's better to have some skate space than no skate space at all, but understand that it might be a slightly more uphill battle because of that. You can, though, if you do a phase build, use data from your phase one. Clock that data, log it. We have this many kids skating. At this time, kids reported that it was too crowded. You know what I mean? Get that data down. That'll help you in the future. All right, moving on.
And for the Built to Play grants that are bigger grants, up to $250,000 in matching funds, that can be daunting to think that you have to raise $250,000. However, you want to aim high, right? Like you don't want to. I see a lot of advocates who are like, I don't know if we can raise that much. Maybe we should aim lower. If you set a goal, there's a lot of potential for meeting whatever goal you set. Right. And so I would suggest if you're looking at a 10,000 square foot skate park and you need to raise $500,000, that's the goal you set first. Right. Later, if it needs to be downsized because, hey, maybe something happened in the community where there's more need for the local funds for something else, but there can be a skate spot or something like that, and it's a smaller skate park, that's fine to figure that out later. But you want to take your dream, your vision for the skate park, and that's the goal you want to have. That's what I would suggest. I think that's a really good suggestion, especially with a matching grant like that, because then you can go to these potential funders and say, hey, look, we have 250 grand matching right now. Anything that you put in is going to be matched, and that's a huge sell. Now, one caveat, I will say that if your idea is to build the biggest skate park in the world, that might be too big of a goal. I agree. Be reasonable. Because some people do that. It's true. Talk to us to figure out what a reasonable size is, or use the skate park adoption model. In general, you need 10,000 square feet for every 50,000 residents in a densely populated area, and 10,000 square feet of skate park for every 25,000 residents in a not so densely populated, or kind of anything that's not a major metropolitan city. 10,000 square feet for every 25,000 residents. But go use the skate park adoption model if you really want to get specific about it. It's located at publicskateparkdevelopmentguide.org. Or let's move on here. Some new question, or here we go. 74, where will the skate park be located? Will likely have a site by this point. If you don't, you can still apply and see what happens, but a site is very helpful. And throw in the whatever municipal park it's in as well, if you have the name of that. 75, is this location accessible to local youth? Describe, let us know, we need to know. Are there bike paths, sidewalks? Are there no sidewalks? You can only get there by taking the Autobahn? And you know what I mean? There are limitations here we want to know about, and there are good indicators that we want to know if it is accessible. Please provide, 76, what is the approximate distance to the nearest public transportation? Nearest access to public transportation, that's a mouthful. So how close is the nearest bus stop or subway stop or
even train station or shuttle, something like that. That's all very helpful for people to know, because not everybody has the privilege of having a car. Please provide the census tract number for the site of the skate park. Work with the city to figure this out. This will be helpful for us. It's a selfish question. 78, is the park located adjacent to any schools or businesses? Describe this, let us know. I mean, for this one, don't just put yes, let us know. It's 3 miles away from an elementary school. It's 1.5 miles away from a high school. It's across the street from the old folks home where the BMX ladies ride. I don't know. I'm gonna cut that out.
No, you are not. You're going to leave that in.
I probably.
But also here is a good way to, you know, one thing that makes a successful skate park is having amenities nearby where people can get a snack or get lunch or get drinks or things like that.
Right.
And I mean water by drinks. So this is a good way to say, oh, there's some fast food and there's an Arby's down the street or whatever. Sorry, we don't endorse Arby's. Take that out. But this is a good way to show that it's in an active area and people are going to be able to find the things that they need.
Right.
Or also, if it's near schools, it's easily accessible to those students.
Yeah, well said. All right, 79. Will the skate park property need to be purchased? Yes or no? 80. How much will the land cost? Has your group or any other group assisting this skate park project previously applied for a grant from the skate park project? In what year was that application? 83 and 84, similar questions. What year was the skate park project officially created? When was your first community meeting or city council presentation? And 84 is a little bit more specific. Is this the first iteration or the first version of the skate park project? Basically, we find these somewhat zombie resurrection projects where somebody tried it 10 years ago and they kind of half-assed it and left a taste in everybody's mouth. Like, yeah, this skate park folks don't really know what they're doing or whatever. Just give us a little background. It's not going to be positive or negative inherently, but just let us know what the deal is with it. All right, moving on. These are all pretty normal. BMX allowed. Let's get this very clear. We recommend all skate parks to be all-wheel friendly. There's virtually no reason BMX should be left out of skate parks these days because of design consideration, modern design considerations and materials. Some skate parks that are a couple of years old may have a different story, and that's okay. If you need to change that, feel free to rally locally. But moving forward, we do recommend that BMX bikes, wheelchair motocross, scooters, etc., are all welcome in skate parks. And
it just, you know, I'm sorry, maybe you were going to say this, but the more people that are involved with the project, the more successful the project is.
That's what I was going to say. Absolutely. You never know.
The more users after the skate park is built, the happier the city is going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Good return on investment for everybody. You never know if old Councilman McGee has a granddaughter who can do soul grinds on her rollerblades. You know what I mean? It's just be inclusive. It's not that hard. We're not back in the days of skateboarders versus whoever. You know what I mean? It's a park. So if you have an issue with this, get over it. You know what I mean?
Mayor Smith, she might be part of the Hell's Grannies BMX Club.
Hell's Grannies BMX Club. I'm so into that. Love it. So yeah, absolutely right. You never know who's skating and who's doing what on wheeled contraptions in the skate park. Is the skate park going to be free? Oh, what percentage of skate park visitors are expected? This is a tough one. You can do your best to have an estimate. You know, we do these public community meetings and this goes for all of your meeting calls, your graphic design. Try to be all-wheel friendly if you can, it'll help. But you can say, yeah, we had 10 people, 3 of them were scooter riders, and 1 was a BMXer. So there you go. You got your percentage. It's a guesstimate, but it's something that's useful. Is this skate park going to be...
You can also estimate that by your visits to other skate parks and just sort of eyeballing what percentage of the users are there.
Right, in the region. That's well said. Will the skate park be supervised? Will it be free? Will it be restricted? Will the hours be restricted? Will there be lighting? Will it be fenced? I'll go through these, and not to give you the cheat sheet answers, but for a contemporary public skate park, yes, it should be free. The skate park shouldn't be supervised for numerous reasons. The hours should be dawn to dusk if you can help it. They shouldn't be crazy, weird hours. If you can afford lights, put them in there, and will it be fenced or gated? We don't recommend a fence for a couple reasons, unless there's a safety hazard. If you have a 12-foot combi bowl next to a toddler playground, yes, put a barrier in between those. You know what I mean? You want to be smart about this stuff, but you don't want to throw it in a 12-foot prison fence around an entire skate park for no reason.
And some municipalities, if they don't know a lot about skate parks, they might think that charging will help pay for the skate park, or that there needs to be people on site making sure people are wearing pads and helmets,
right,
and that there needs to be a big fence around it. This is where the Public Skate Park Development Guide can help you, and we can help you find that information if you want, or if you're reading the Public Skate Park Development Guide, there's some information on why those things aren't a great idea.
Right. And if you haven't read the Public Skate Park Development Guide, or have only read a chapter, go read all of it, because it's thanks to Peter Whitley and Skaters for Public Skate Parks and THF for helping them broadcast that information out. It's really, that's the path. If you want to figure out how to do this appropriately, you can go read that online.
I would suggest that the majority of the skate parks that have been built in the last 20 years wouldn't have been without the Skate Park Development Guide.
I agree. Absolutely. Which is it's a stunning and
Thank
beautiful
you,
idea.
Peter Whitley.
Yeah, thank you, Peter Whitley. Absolutely. So moving on to the what's the current status of the skate park? What are your next steps? Where are you? What's going on? Did you just start? Are you just wrapping up? What's the deal? Let us know. Has the skate park designer been hired? Pretty obvious. What company has been contracted for the skate park design? Why was this? Oh, real quick, before, if you don't mind, Trevor, going back, you mentioned definitely go read the PSDG if you're thinking about supervising or charging. Also talk to your, and this will be in the PSDG, the Public Skate Park Development Guide, but talk to the people around you, the skate parks that are, the public skate parks that are in the city 10 miles away, anything that's in the local region, and learn how, get some examples about how they did it. If they're public, unsupervised, and unfenced, usually there's a state statute that allows for a municipality to have a skate park that's unsupervised. As soon as you supervise something, the liability and the risk, their insurance, everything changes, because it's no longer kind of an open field where everybody understands the risk. So do a little research. If you're confused, hit us up. We're happy to chat about it. Oh boy,
and a good answer to your city staff or your elected officials who are suggesting that it needs to be fenced or there needs to be membership or something. Most of the skate parks in your region, they're free to use and there's no fence and people can just go use it. So you can say, oh, well, maybe you can say to them, maybe we can find out how Jamestown did it, because theirs is free and you can go there anytime and they don't have any problems. And then the city, because municipalities talk to each other and park staff talk to each other and they know each other. And so that's a good way to do it too, just to say other places are doing it and there's not a problem. It shouldn't be a problem here. Jamestown doesn't have their skate park yet, so.
Oh, okay.
They're building in the spring. It's going to be free to use and no fence around it.
There we go. That'd be fun. Perfect. But yeah, getting precedence is key. All right, what's the current status? Has the skate park designer been hired? What company has been contracted for the skate park design? Why were they selected? Has a skate park builder been hired? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is a really important one. What steps will be taken to ensure the skate park is constructed to an acceptable quality? You don't want Sally Sidewalk Company building a skate park for the first time on your dime. You want to make sure that there are qualified, or shall I say, experienced skate park construction firms building your skate park. If you're not sure how to make sure that's the case, especially if you're going out to bid, let us know. Call us, email us, contact@skatepark.org, or my email is alec, A-L-E-C, @skatepark.org. Trevor's is Trevor, Trevor, @skatepark.org. Hit us up. We'll talk about it. Long story short, if you're going out to bid, do an RFQ, a request for qualifications, an RFQ round, to make sure that you must be this experienced in skate parks to bid. Moving on, under what circumstances might the skate park project be delayed or canceled? And then 104, provide a brief history of the skate park project and how the project will contribute to neighborhood revitalization and or repurpose vacant, blighted, abandoned public property. Just tell us about the project, when it began, and try to include significant milestones and events with dates. And then finally, let us know what it's going to do to make the neighborhood better. That's key. Now, once we're basically at the end of the application here, but that's not the end of your application. We have a couple of supplemental packet items that need to be sent to us electronically. You'll want to email us, contact@skatepark.org, with a subject line, your city name, the state, and then the word supplemental packet. And here's the list. This is all available online, but your IRS determination letter, whether you have one or not, if you're a city, you probably don't, it's a little different. Financial statements, if there's a budget for the skate park committee, things like that. We don't want to see Los Angeles City's entire municipal budget. We just need to see the skate park stuff for your project or for the local budget. Then the community support evidence, this is what we want to see. We want to see, kids working and community members working together. It's going to be a little bit different in the time of COVID, but you can do screenshots for your digital stuff. Trevor, what did you include in your community support evidence for Ann Arbor?
Oh man, that was a long time ago.
Put you on the spot.
I think we included letters of support from elected officials.
Yep, that's huge.
On the city and county and state level even.
Nice.
And also articles in the paper.
Right.
Back then we had newspapers.
Right. Perfect. Okay, great. Good examples. And then finally, a skate park design for rendering. Trevor, do the BTP, the Built to Play groups, need to submit a skate park design?
No, but what they should do is submit something that shows the type of skate park that they're looking at doing. So that may even be just looking through some skate park builders websites and grabbing some concepts off of there and just saying, this is the kind of thing we want to do at our skate park.
All right, well said.
Because they use most built to play skate park applicants haven't hired a designer yet.
Right, there you go. All right, now the grant pre-registration is available at skatepark.org/grant. What this does is allow you to basically put your name down if you're interested in applying for a grant. The next grant application cycle ends, the window to apply ends on January 27th, 2021. So it's not too far away. If you want to make sure we have your name and information while you fill out the worksheet over the holiday in early 2021, go to skatepark.org/grant and put in your information, and we'll make sure we have it. It's a good way for us to cross-check things. That's it for the skate park construction grant application. Thanks for taking the time to, we're giggling over here, folks. Thanks for taking the time to listen to this grant application information. Hit us up if you have any questions. We would not be here without our sponsors. We have very big thanks to
the Ralph C. Wilson Foundation,
Activision,
the Gumball 3000 Foundation,
Skate One,
Dynacraft,
Birdhouse,
the Alex Lavasser Memorial Foundation,
Find Your Grind,
Pura Vida Pro,
Jones Soda,
and Delta Airlines.
That's right. We're so grateful to our sponsors. Thank you to our sponsors, and thank you to you at home for donating. Whether you kick down $5 a month, $1 a month, 20, $100 a month, whatever it is, it goes a long way to helping us achieve our mission of getting more public skate parks across the country. Your dollar right now, between now and the end of the year, any dollar that's in your pocket is worth $2 to us. There's a 2x matching program going on thanks to a very generous donor. So if you're filled with a holiday spirit, or you just love that you can go to a concrete skate park in your neighborhood and don't have to pay anything to get in there, but you want to give back to communities who need the help, who need the grant funding, who need the technical assistance, go to skatepark.org, click the donate button, see what we do, and if you're convinced that it's worth it, kick down some cash and help us meet our year-end goal. Trevor, thank you for taking the time to chat with me today. It's a pleasure. Love chatting with you about this. I'm excited for 2021 for a number of reasons, but for season 3 of the Skate Park podcast, it's going to be a lot of fun.
And we got a lot of skate parks going on in the Midwest out here in the built to play area. So nice. 6 new skate parks being built next year. So
that's huge. Very, very, very exciting. So maybe we'll leave these kind listeners with either a video or audio recording of a few grant winners being notified of their grant winnings.
Ooh,
grammar.
Exciting.
It is exciting. It's the best, honestly, the best part of my job is to be able to make a couple of those calls. And, but we do occasionally do some interview calls to communities. Sometimes they're just to interview you. Sometimes they're to tell you got the grant. So we're just trying to keep it, we're trying to shake it up and make sure that you don't get wise to our tactics. But take a listen. Thank you. Have a very happy and safe holiday break, everybody. And email us, contact@skatepark.org if you want to chat about your grant application. And we'll see you soon.
All right. Adios.
Bye-bye. All right, you ready?
Ready. I guess I can just jump in to tell you guys that the grant has been approved. And so y'all are getting a skateboard. And congratulations.
The grants committee and the board has awarded you a $10,000 grant.
What?
Yes, congratulations.
Did you just hear it? I heard it. 10,000.
We're basically just calling to tell you that you won the $10,000 grant.
That's awesome.
The board of directors and the grants committee has elected to award you the $10,000 grant for your skate park project.
Oh my gosh.
So congratulations.
That is amazing.
Oh my gosh. We get to finish.
Well done.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Holy sh! It's all because of the work that you guys do. I know from personal experience what this means, and it's more than just skateboarding. You really see a community come together,